morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 9:01 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning, Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. We have a returning guest and friend today, author Taina Torres. She is the author of Borinquen is Our Homeland, but Aurora is Our Home, the history of Puerto Ricans in Aurora, Illinois. Taina, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day. It's nice and humid, kind of like the islands. And I have lots of reasons to smile. I just published my book earlier this week on July 22nd, and I've been working on it since 2022. So it's my life's work.
That's amazing. And it's your very first book.
Yes, it is my first book.
Congratulations on such a milestone. So I just want to read very briefly just a couple of sentences real quick about the book. Since 1944, Puerto Ricans migrated en masse to metropolitan cities as a result of Operation Bootstrap, a mass industrialization program that sought to solve rampant unemployment caused by overpopulation. Cities such as Chicago and New York saw a massive influx of Puerto Rican immigrants in search of better opportunities. This book provides such a great and detailed history of the Puerto Rican experience. As we go through the book, how did this book, come about? What is its foundations and origins when it comes to doing the research about your community? How did you get started with this?
Yeah, so I was in school at Aurora University, and as a part of their history program, you have to research a niche topic of history beginning to end. And in doing that, I had to choose a topic. And I remember my professor, Dr. Butters, said, look at local history. It's most often overlooked. Local history gets forgotten the most. And I knew I wanted to do something about Puerto Ricans because I wasn't taught a lot of Puerto Rican history in school. Like, the only time Puerto Rican history was brought up was at the end of the Spanish-American War and the Treaty of Paris in 1898. The United States gained Puerto Rico. That's about it. But Puerto Ricans have accomplished so much in U.S. history. Like the first U.S. shot of World War I was done by a Puerto Rican.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's things like that where I never learned that history and I wanted to seek it out, but also I wanted to seek out that local history. And at that moment, I remembered in that class, I remembered about a guy named Emilio Barrios, who was like an older man, and he said that when he first arrived here in Aurora in 1951, he went to get a cup of coffee and was told, "We don't serve you here." And I remember that being so shocking because you hear about that when learning about history, but we're in the north, that doesn't happen here. But that's not necessarily the case.
Sure.
It happened here. He was told, he was like light-skinned like me, and he was told, "We don't serve you here." So I remembered that, and then I was like, oh my God, I can start with him. And from then on, he was my first interview, and he was the last chapter that I wrote too. So a full circle moment.
That's amazing. So the first chapter is from colony to community, okay? And this book opens up with Ismael Perez. Who was Ismael Perez?
Ismael Perez was my late grandfather. He immigrated here in 1952 in hopes of a better life, in hopes of supporting his family in Puerto Rico because the wages here were much higher than the wages were in Puerto Rico.
Sure.
And he knew that there were employers that were willing to hire Latinos here. So on that information alone, he journeyed from the West Coast all the way straight to Aurora. He spent one night at a Salvation Army when a local Puerto Rican, Bernardo Torres, saw him and was like, "Oh my God, you're here," and opened up his house to him. And that's really why I opened up my book with that story, because that goodwill that Puerto Ricans have, that's been the groundwork for the Puerto Rican community in Aurora.
It's very amazing. Hernandez informed Perez about a city not too far from Chicago called Aurora. He spoke of a few Puerto Ricans in the city and employers willing to hire Latinos. That's amazing because I think, again, not only are a lot of local histories forgotten, but the individual story, too, kind of gets lost in that as well. Mm-hmm. When writing this book, what did you discover about yourself as a Puerto Rican, but also as a writer?
When I was writing this book, I had a lot of difficulties because I was seeing disparity between the Puerto Rican community in the past in Aurora and the Puerto Rican community now. Like my mom was telling me about how they used to have a car caravan go through downtown Aurora, how they would have these big, big festivals that were multiple days. I remember the parade. And I look now and our festival has shortened and our parade is gone. And I was like, what happened? Like, what's going on? Why aren't we the same? And throughout the process of the book, I realized that we aren't the same because of people like me, because I wasn't the one who was supporting the Puerto Rican festival every single day. I was like, oh, I'll go on the last day. The last day is always the best. No. I should have been there every day. I should have been the one to wake up and go to the parade. I should have been the one to go to all of those mini events. I should have been the one who was actively supporting the community. And because there were people like me who weren't, that's why our community weakened. And so throughout the process of the book, I became emboldened to support my culture even more than I had ever done before.
That's awesome. The time is 9:06 a.m. If you're just joining us, we're here with author of Borinquen is Our Homeland, but Aurora is Our Home, The History of Puerto Ricans in Illinois, Taina Torres, friend of the show. Let's go a little bit deeper into the Aurora experience as it pertains to Puerto Ricans. Talk about what made and has made Aurora attractive to Puerto Ricans. You mentioned the economic aspect. There are people willing to hire. But once those first kind of seeds were planted, talk a little bit more about the familial and cultural aspects that has started to take root here.
Absolutely. So a lot of Puerto Ricans came either because they heard Aurora was able to hire Latinos, or they came because of migration chains. And migration chains basically means one family member came and more family followed. And so Puerto Ricans in Aurora ended up being like big clans of families. Like the Rivera family, oh my God, there's so many Riveras and they're all so wonderful people.
Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot, right?
There's a lot of Riveras who are Puerto Rican in Aurora, and it's like a whole big clan. Like I've seen their family reunion, and I'm like, oh my God. But so you have a big familial aspect. And the early pioneers of Puerto Ricans in Aurora, I have them listed there. I don't know the names it's a big list of names off the top of my head.
You've already mentioned a great number of the names I'm looking at, absolutely.
Yeah. So those original pioneers weren't just like coworkers or associates or family. They were neighbors, they were coworkers, they were fellow community members, they were family, they were everything. Like the community was really close to each other because again, they were neighbors, family, friends. And because of that ends up being one of the biggest strengths of Puerto Ricans in Aurora, because they're able to invest in themselves much quicker than other communities might have been able to, because everybody knows each other. Even now, like I still know a lot of Puerto Ricans in Aurora, and because of this research, I've gotten to know even more people.
It says that many of the first settlers were from Barranquitas, Lares, Camuy, and Yamucoa.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving me because I was
Yabucoa.
I was gonna. But some of the first Puerto Ricans in Aurora include Agustin Torres, Mingo Torres, Valentin Torres, Juan Nieves, Bernardo Torres, Santo Torres, Doroteo Arroyo, Manuel Rivera, Natividad and Rosa Perez, Matias Perez, Jacinto Vasquez. So many names.
Yeah, there's so many pioneers, and like that list kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But every single time my parents were like, do you want to cut the list? I'm like, absolutely not. We all need to know who our pioneers are, who came before us, so that we can continually acknowledge them even after their passing.
Right. Let's talk about El Orden Fraternal
Borinqueño.
Borinqueño.
Yeah, you got it, Curtis.
Trying.
That's the Puerto Rican Fraternal Order of Aurora. Okay. They were founded after the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council was founded, and it was really more of like an intimate familial kind of thing. Okay. And their goal is to promote Puerto Rican culture and promote Puerto Rican education. So the biggest thing that they hold yearly is the annual golf outing, which will be coming up in August. Yep. If you can support, obviously, please do support. I was a recipient of their scholarship, the Santos Masonet Scholarship, and I talk about it in the book, but Santos Masonet was somebody who had a heart of a different caliber. And he was somebody who passed away way too soon, and so the frat came together and decided that the best way to honor him was a scholarship, because he had limited educational opportunities and he made sure his kids never did. And so now his name is making sure that a generation of kids never do. And it's my goal that through my book process and like getting the profits back after I pay my artist and my accountant, it's my goal to donate back the entire scholarship I received.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. Very interesting fact too, the early history of Good Morning Aurora. Seriously, year one, the Aurora Puerto Rican Fraternal Order invited us to participate in their golf outing. We sponsored a hole that opened a lot of doors for us, and it was really great, and I appreciate that.
Oh, they're wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah, we appreciate that very much. So now let's pivot to the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council.
Yes.
Now that was established before the Fraternal Order. Let's talk about that history, because it still thrives today in the city.
Yeah, so the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council was founded in 1968, and that year is pretty significant because the previous year was the first Puerto Rican parade in Chicago.
Okay.
And so a year after, the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council is founded under the name the United Puerto Rican Parade Committee, and by 1972, on July 22nd, they had their very first parade, the very first Puerto Rican parade in Aurora.
That had to be a day, boy.
And that's, oh my God. I mean, I always see how prideful Puerto Ricans are of their flag, and I can just imagine the flags and everywhere going all around. And yeah, that's why I chose July 22nd to be the date to release my book, because it was a historic day for Puerto Ricans in Aurora. So just getting back into that history.
Your book is, again, you were kind of to provide us, our programs, with the advanced copy. And when I was reading it, it is just so well detailed. And what I appreciate about it as a person who's not of the community is that I can read this book, I can see names of the folks who are around now doing major things in the city, helping out, contributing to the legacy. And when I talk to those people, they tell me more, and then I can read those same names in your book. It's really amazing, and I think this is definitely a gem for the community. Now, the gift of education. Let's talk about that, because that is a very significant chapter in this book.
Yeah, so the gift of education, that chapter really focuses in on the Doroteo Arroyo and Juan Impruverte Scholarship that was created in, I want to say 1998, that was the first, or 1997. It's one of those two. I'm sorry for not having it right off the top of my head. I'm usually really good with numbers.
First book, it's all right.
It's my first book, so I thank you for being kind.
Yep.
So it was either 1997 or 98, and they created that scholarship following the death of founding member of the United Puerto Rican Parade Committee turned Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council, Juan Impruverte. And they gave away, I want to say, 9 $1,000 scholarships. And of the initial 9 recipients, I know at least 2 of those recipients became teachers, and 1 ended up becoming a part of the Illinois State Board of Education as the first teacher. First
Really?
Active teacher on the State Board of Education.
Wow. You were right about the year, 1997.
97.
You had
I was
it
like,
right.
it was one of those two.
You had it right. Absolutely. Boy, that's something. That's something.
Yeah, the gift of education, the gift that keeps giving, because now Laura Gonzalez, who is the first active teacher on the State Board of Education in Illinois, now she's able to help more Latino students. Now she's able to help more bilingual students, because she was a bilingual student herself.
Right.
And so she has that kind of empathy. And you've met, she was on here
before.
and she's just such a gift. Shout out to Laura. She's such a gift to the community and such like a beautiful, beautiful heart. So the gift of education is a gift that keeps giving,
Yeah. What is the current, what's the current health and strength of the Puerto Rican community in Aurora? How's the community doing currently?
Yeah, I think the community is doing great. I think that we could always be better.
Sure.
There is always room to improve, but I think that I love seeing the same faces again and again at all the different events because we're building community one step at a time. And every time somebody new comes, it's like a new hello and a new getting to meet somebody and broadening our horizons and things like that. Of course, we don't have our parade because of costs, and we don't have the festival being multiple days because of costs again. But I genuinely do believe that Puerto Ricans in Aurora are resilient and tenacious and hardworking people, and I think that that will happen again. We will have a parade again. We will have a multiple day festival again. It's just we need to show up, and we need people like you to show up. We need people of all different cultures to show up. We need to promote solidarity, and in turn, we need to show up for other things because these cultural events really make Aurora beautiful. I think Aurora is a beautiful, beautiful city because of the people and because of the diversity and because of the solidarity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about Miss Puerto Rico of Aurora. The first was Darlene Medina. Now, what was it like detailing this specific history of these individual ladies? What was that like? Was that different than, I haven't written a book yet, but was that different than, your notes and your dates and things like that, traveling individuals? What was this specifically like in research?
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
It's all good, it's all good.
So, yeah, it was a little different. I had to first figure out who were all the queens, and pageant programs actually in the past detailed all the former queens. So I traced it all back through the former queens, and I was given a list by someone, and I was like, oh, that's actually incorrect, and I was able to go through and fix it all up and put it in a nice little bow. And I didn't highlight all of the queens and all of their accomplishments because there have been a lot of queens, and there have been a lot of successful, amazing things that these queens have done. But I did highlight a few, like Zaida Rodriguez, who was on the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Nanette Maldonado, who owns a hairstyling salon, who owns a salon, and here in downtown Aurora, Marissa Yelenowski, who was an Emmy winner, and I think I also did Jalita Colon, who, Jolly's just an amazing person.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to
for
Jalita.
multiple different reasons. So I was going through all of these different stories and things like that, and I just ended up writing about their stories and then talking about what's the health of Miss Puerto Rico of Aurora, what are its pros, what are its cons, because we aren't the same. The United States in general isn't the same culture as it was back in the 70s.
Sure.
And so the way people have viewed pageants has changed. And is that a strength to the Puerto Rican community? Is that a weakness? Looking at all of that and seeing how can we improve and things like that. But ultimately, the legacy of Miss Puerto Rico of Aurora is already cemented in the success of its winners. I know so many former Miss Puerto Ricos of Aurora who are out here doing amazing, amazing work.
Yeah, I'm looking at a few names. We know a few of these people. They've been on Good Morning Aurora. How cool is that? Let's talk about Puerto Rico, the island. I talk to my neighbors across the street who are Puerto Rican, and they take trips back and everything. What is the connection and familial connections with the island and with Aurora? What's that like? I haven't been to Puerto Rico before. A lot of friends tell me it's a beautiful place. But what's the connection like with those folks there and here?
So connections vary depending on if you're first generation, second generation, third, and so on. So first generation is the people who migrate here. Second generation are the people who were born here. And third generation are the second generation's kids, and so on and so forth. So my dad is first generation. My mom is second generation. So I am both second generation and third generation.
I see.
So I have direct ties to the island. I just went back there in March, and I visited my mom's side and my dad's side. My dad's side is super duper fun. My mom's side is very calm and mellow, and we got to stay in the Campo, which is rural Puerto Rico. And in the Campo, you can sometimes experience some not so fun things like the electricity going out, but I feel like that's half the charm. It's quiet, it's tranquil, and if the power goes out, okay, whatever. I'm still in Puerto Rico.
Right.
And so there's still a reason to smile. There's still a reason to keep moving on.
Now, you also have a book signing coming up. Let's talk about that. This is Great interview today. Great interview. So many things to talk about. Let's talk about the interview. It's going to be at Society 57.
Yep. Society 57 on July 31st, starting at 5:30 to 7:30. At 6 o'clock, I'll be talking, giving my speech, and then after that speech, I'm hoping it'll be like 10 minutes. I don't want to give speech fatigue. And after that, I'll be signing books. If you do want to come, you're free to come. Everybody is welcome to come into my book signing. We'll have pastries, coffee, and just a lot of talking. My dad's going to be playing his cuatro or his guitar, depending on if my godfather comes and plays his cuatro. So there'll be live music. And you'll get to ask me questions. I highly suggest that if you do plan on going, to buy your book prior, because we have limited supply selling at the book signing. So if you really want to ensure that your book gets signed, bring in a book.
All right. So I did see the digital flyer for this, so we'll be sharing this on our platforms as well. But once again, it's going to be Society 57, Thursday, July 31st, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So come on down for that. Solidarity. We did touch on that. How can we support the Puerto Rican community? How can ourselves and the listeners, you mentioned events and things like that, but can we do more? Are there pieces of history that we would be good updating and educating ourselves on about the community? How can we be good allies and stand in great solidarity?
Yeah, absolutely. So solidarity is not a new thing in Aurora.
Right.
Like, we have Marie Wilkinson, who worked with Emilio Barrios to get more Caterpillar and Western Electric to hire more Latinos. So this is not new. We had police officer Hector Jordan, who was the first Mexican-American cop in Aurora who was bilingual. So he was an instrumental piece of justice, because whenever Puerto Ricans would gather in downtown and talk, police officers would come up and say, disperse. And so you can express that solidarity just by being a kind individual in your everyday life. But if you want to go even further, then I would follow the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council's Facebook page and follow the Puerto Rican Fraternal Order of Aurora's Facebook page. Okay. Go to every event that you can. A lot of these events are free. Like today at 10:45, it's the raising of the Puerto Rican flag, which, fun fact, the Puerto Rican flag was the first ethnic flag ever raised in Aurora.
Really?
Yep, it was the first one, and it's no coincidence that it was the first one. So, like, just keep on, if you can, attending these events, regardless of the culture that you are, because, again, that solidarity is necessary. I always try and attend Juneteenth flag raising.
Oh, yeah.
I was working this time, so I couldn't, but it's about fostering community beyond ethnic lines.
Absolutely. And I've seen you at many different events.
Absolutely.
Throughout the city for quite some time now. So, definitely you speak solidarity and you also practice it too. 9:23 is the time if you're just joining us. We are here with friend of the show and author Taina Torres. She is the author of her very first book, Borinquen is Our Homeland, but Aurora is Our Home, The History of Puerto Ricans in Aurora, Illinois. This work is exhaustive and very well done. This is an amazing read. I'm not done with it just yet. I was provided an advanced copy, but the reading was very captivating. Very good.
Thank you.
With a little bit of time that we got left, what do you feel is the future for the Puerto Rican community here in the city of Aurora?
Yeah, the future, I think, is to go up, pa'lante. And the reason I say that is, from the 90s up until now, we've been investing in Puerto Rican education, and now it's time that those investments come true. I was invested in by my community, and I utilized my education to come out with my book to raise my community and give back the investment that was given to me. And so I think that it's time for people like me who received scholarships by the Puerto Rican Fraternal Order of Aurora or by the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council show up. The torch is ours now. And so it's now time to move it up to newer heights, to engage other people about Puerto Rican culture, to be an ambassador for Puerto Rican culture, and to be the role models that we needed more when we were younger. And so that's why I always go to schools during Hispanic Heritage Month to show that, like, I'm Latina, I'm educated, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm proud, and you can be successful by being exactly who you are, exactly where you're at.
Absolutely. Well, the time is 9:25. We're going to wrap it up here in just a couple of moments. But as we make our way to the end of this episode, I want to say thank you very much to great members of the Puerto Rican community who've been supporters of Good Morning Aurora since our early days. That's the Soto family. Definitely have always been great supporters. Marissa Yelenoski, my neighbors across the street who've really, made me feel welcome and feel like a neighbor. So as Taina said, let's do everything that we can to just continue to be good neighbors, help our communities, because the more that we help each other, share each other's message, the better that we can all thrive in a healthy way. So, Taina, I want to say thank you again.
Thank
For
you.
coming on to the program. This was absolutely wonderful. And we look forward to having you back in the future to talk about this book during Hispanic Heritage or Puerto Rican independence, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any message that you'd like to say for the people before we wrap up?
Pa'lante, continue to move forward. We got this. We have the tools, we have the tenacity, we have the perseverance. We just need the action. So let's move forward together into a better, brighter Aurora.
All right. Don't forget, coming out to the book signing Thursday, July 31st is Society 57, the book. Borinquen is our homeland, but Aurora is our home. The history of Puerto Ricans in Aurora, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of the day, great weekend. Take care of yourself and each other.